Today isn't just about lunch. Over the next 6 hours, I'm going behind the scenes at Central to experience the very places where many of their dishes are conceived, developed, and brought to life. It's 10 AM on a Monday morning, and my first appointment is with Lucio here at Casa Tupac to explore Central's gardens and philosophy. Lucio, who's a nutritionist, starts me off with a cold infusion before introducing me to some of their native herbs and how they're utilised throughout Peruvian cuisine. From there, we take a leisurely stroll through their beautifully curated gardens, with Lucio sharing an incredible amount of knowledge along the way. There's a lesson in Ichu, the high altitude grass traditionally used for weaving, which, despite Lucio making it look remarkably easy, proved a little more challenging than I expected. Next comes achiote, a berry from the Amazon that they use as a natural colorant. I also get the chance to put my artistic skills to the test with a little decorating of my own. With the gardens behind me, it was time to head inside to the first of their creative spaces, where Gabrielle and Anna were waiting to introduce me to one of Peru's most fascinating ecosystems, the sea. After a quick freshen up, we dive straight in with a crash course in seaweeds. First up was sea lettuce, followed by codium, yuyo, and finally kelp. I also get to try them pickled, dehydrated, and slow cooked, with each preparation bringing out completely different flavours and textures.
That was excellent. I never thought I'd say that about a plate full of seaweed products, but...
Next, it was over to Gabrielle for my first bite of the morning. He introduces me to a slightly sleepy razor clam. That one was for later on. For now, its finely diced cousin was wrapped inside some sea lettuce. A really fresh opening bite with lovely clean flavours and plenty of texture. From there, I was introduced to a sticky mass and asked to guess what it was. It turned out to be the sourdough starter, something I would never have guessed made using seaweed, specifically yuyo and sargassum, proving once again that pretty much nothing here today is ordinary.
So with this started, we have made this bread for you. Here we have a reduction from the sargassum. So if you can help us to pour a little bit of this reduction on top of the dough.
So it's almost like a molasses. That's excellent. It's so addictive. Also the texture of the sourdough, it's like a donut.
Over at the next counter, it was time for the Popeye crab. Here, they use the claw meat whilst the innards are transformed into a rich sauce alongside caramelised onions and roe, before everything is finished with the very same seaweed I'd just been introduced to.
Oh, you get that intensity of the crab flavour coming through. That is wonderful. The crab meat, fantastic, but the umami coming from that sauce is, feel it's like still going. I love that.
Next came goose barnacles. As it was my first time seeing them, Anna gave me a full breakdown of their anatomy before letting me try one for myself.
Very clean, very mild.
Then came these beautifully coloured veils, showcasing the incredible colours hidden within the meat itself.
It's so pretty, this.
Okay.
Like a sea fruit leather. That's super interesting. Very cool.
Now, it was time to put my kitchen skills to work. Seaweed and goose barnacles were carefully arranged onto a wax paper before being covered with a starchy sea lettuce mixture. 3 minutes later, and out came a delightfully crisp cracker, complete with my rather questionable handiwork almost fossilised inside it.
To finish this dish, we are making a seaweed salad with a citric cream. We're gonna put on top of the fossil that you made, and we are going to finish it with the barnacle veil on top.
One bite. Excellent. I love that. Wonderful.
Back to where we'd started, and now it was time for clams and scallops. The clam foot was transformed into something resembling a savoury ice cream, whilst the mantle and keel, parts that normally go to waste, were smoked, charred, and turned into something resembling a granita beneath it. This was all finished with a vibrant blue seaweed powder, along with an oil made using scallop roe, and finally, some noodle-like strands extracted from the clams.
I love the colour. I don't think I've ever eaten blue food. There's a bit of spice running there as well for me. Super interesting, unique. I don't even know how to describe it. The spiciness is incredible. It's like fresh, it's acidic, it's so bright as well at the same time. The way the texture of those little spaghetti things change because it freezes. Interesting, but overall though, it tastes good.
One final bite remained, an emulsified scallop cream sitting on a base inspired by the flavours of leche de tigre, the citrus marinade used in ceviche. Finished with goose barnacles and codium seaweed, it brought together so many of the ingredients I'd spent the last hour learning about.
So light, airy, fluffy. Oh, there's such a nice underlying herbiness to it.
And that marked the end of my time with Anna and Gabrielle. But the immersion was only just getting started. Next, it was over to Diego and Kenya in the Liquids Lab, a space where all of the restaurant's drinks and in-house creations are imagined, developed, and refined. The first ingredient I'm introduced to is limon rugoso, or rough lemon. They demonstrate how every element of the fruit is used, including a perfume made from the leaves and even their own bitters. For my first liquid, they take the skins with a little honey, sous vide them before running everything through this squasher to extract a pure infusion.
That's like a simple syrup, but like a lemon simple syrup. Wow.
Next, onto the sweeter side of things with a lesson in bees. First, I try a honey from the commonly known Apis mellifera species. Inside, some pollen was mixed in.
I've never tasted honey like that. So much flavour.
Before moving on to the Melipona bee, a stingless species native to the Amazon.
That's not what I expected. That honey has got like the most acidic, citrusy, it's like a citrus syrup.
After a tour of their bee colony, it was time to try the pollen itself, which, as you'd expect, was wonderfully floral with a slight powdery mouthfeel. The final honey also came from the Melipona bee, but this time it was harvested in a completely different region.
Very different. Nowhere near as acidic or sharp.
And now it was time to see how all of these individual components come together. Starting with Caña Mate, a sugarcane spirit they distill at 3,600 meters above sea level. First, we're going to need a cold glass. Into it, they poured a mix of their spirit along with the limon rugoso and honey, before finishing it with a garnish made from the peel itself. A couple of sips in, and Diego has a couple of final touches. A few drops of bitters, followed by a light mist of the perfume we'd seen earlier. It completely transformed both the aroma and the drink itself. The next ingredient to make an appearance was vanilla, and this was my first time ever seeing it in its raw form. Of course, we need to taste it too. First, a fresh pod that had been pressure cooked for 14 hours, followed by another that had been cured, dehydrated, and then cooked for 10 hours.
Quite bitter. It's got a slight fruitiness to it as well. It's almost like a caramelized vanilla. Interesting texture.
And now everything comes together once again. Vanilla, Caña Mate, limon rugoso, and honey. This time as a tea. Coffee was next, but not in the way I was expecting it. First, they used the silver skin, that's the thin membrane that surrounds the bean, infusing it into a water to create a juice.
The undertone's watery coffee.
After that, they created a pour-over style coffee using just the coffee husks, something that's normally thrown away.
Very fragrant, very fruity. I don't think I would know it's coffee if I didn't know it was coffee. For me, it's more tea than coffee though. Yeah. Interesting.
The final ingredient they showcased was Madre de Dios, or more commonly known as the Brazil nut. I got to try them raw, then oven roasted, before finally tasting one that had been dry aged and pressure cooked.
It's a very, very subtle nutty flavour. It's not too overpowering at all.
Next came an oil, followed by a beautifully clear nut water with tiny specks of the nut fat floating across the surface. To round off my immersion experience, Diego prepared one final drink that brought together everything we'd explored here today. A vanilla spirit base with limon rugoso, honey, and coffee, all charged with CO2, before being finished with their Amazonian nut oil.
The balance is insane there. I can pinpoint every element, but nothing is too perfecto.
With this part of my journey coming to an end, it was finally time to head downstairs for the main event. Daniela takes over and introduces me to their menu. Mundo en Desnivel, or the world in elevation, served across 12 moments. Every course represents a different altitude of Peru, from below the Pacific coastline all the way up to the extreme altitudes of the Andes. And as we'd already experienced the first course earlier in the day, after a quick freshen up and a welcome drink, Chef Virgilio comes over to introduce the next dish.
So this is a pumpkin. We added some river shrimps and then we cover with the same squash. Here we have the juices coming from the head of the same shrimp. And then let's say the bones of the shrimp. In this case we press it with manzanilla with lots of herbs from the garden. And then you have a very buttery avocado with the powder of the head of the shrimp.
Firstly, the texture on that shrimp is unbelievably snappy and fresh. Huge sweetness coming from the pumpkin. It's so interesting as well. The citrus peppery note coming from this, and it's from the pumpkin. Every element of that was exceptional. I mean, the avocado was exactly as you'd imagine. Creamy, nice, firm piece of avocado, dusted with a bit of shrimp head powder. The shrimp cracker, not my favourite. I've had them before, kind of the uneven cook from the crispiness of the shell and the different elements of the shrimp.
We continue with this wine. It's from Chile, from Maule Valley. The name of this project is Laberinto Cenizas. We're gonna have here Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, and Chardonnay.
I keep now just putting residual pieces of the shell out my mouth from that cracker.
So here we continue with the Amazonian savanna. This time we want to show you this fruit come from the jungle. The name of this fruit is aguaje. It's a family of the palm tree fruit. We made two different type of the small breads. This one we made it with the fruit part of the aguaje, and another one here we made it with the dry skin of the fruit. And also in the middle of this bread you can find the pure Amazonian fish tartar. It's called doncella. This type of catfish come from the Amazonian river. Now I'm gonna prepare the dipping for those bread. This one is a yogurt, but colors are different because the brown one we caramelized yakon, and then the black one we made the ash with the skin of the yakon. Now I'm gonna finish with this syrup of yakon. But while you are having this bread, also you can try this airy foam of the butter. So the white one we made it with topoazu, which is a fruit from the jungle. The green one we made it with the sachaculant, it's a wild cilantro from the jungle. Underneath you can find a small piece of the Amazonian prawn.
Thank you very much. Beautiful presentation. Oh, God, this is going to go everywhere. Okay, I have to do this in one bite. Well, my hands are purple. Confusing there. Very confusing for me. I found the cold temperatures were too cold. Not quite sure what to make of that one. Generally, I'm not the biggest fan of yogurt, but that was very mild. It wasn't too sour. It was excellent. The breads, though, were fantastic. Also, yeah, finger food, that makes your hands purple. Interesting choice. What was it? That was like mushroom powder. What was it?
Here we're gonna have chaco. Chaco is a edible clay that we find in the mountains. But to sweetness, we add cabuya honey. The cabuya is Andean cactus.
Now we are located at the highest point of the experience. This is extreme altitude, 4,200 meters above sea level. So we'll find this variety of corns. First, using the corn husk, we have prepared this cold infusion. Then, in this vessel, we'll find two textures, one creamy and one crispy. Also, kiwicha, some tiny seeds, and we dye the kiwicha using the colors of the corn.
We want to showcase also prosciutto, which is this kind of algae that grows in the lakes. A reduction of these herbs and prosciutto gelatin, plus some of the corn essence, and you're gonna try this algae that grows in the mountains.
That tastes pretty much like corn juice. It's solid all the way through. It's not like caviar where there's a liquid sitting inside, but this corn thing, but all the different elements, especially with the quinoa, the crunchiness, the creaminess of the corn, the depth and flavour in that puree is incredible. That is amazing. The sauce inside that sea caviar thing's absolutely fantastic. Also, too many dishes inside dishes. It's all just flapping around. I'm finding it very hard to, if I had to eat with just a single hand, it'd be pretty impossible. That is wonderful. Especially the sweetness that runs through that, but at the same time it's not too sweet.
With this winery, Bolsa, Uruguay, here we're gonna have Alvarinho.
So now we are heading to the north of the country where the sea is warm. So this is warm sea current. We'll find the Murica grouper. So the grouper is in the shell, covered with seaweeds in two textures. So we have them dehydrated in a jelly. Under this, we'll find a bongole emulsion. Now, in the shop, we'll find a broth made of bongole, clams, and razor clams. Finally, inside the sphere, grilled lobster covered with warm razor clams.
The aroma's fantastic. Ooh, very intense. There is a slight spiciness running through there as well. This is the same preparations of seaweed that we had upstairs. We had the crispy one, we have the jelly. That's incredibly flavorful. Wow. And then finally, on this one is the lobster. That's wonderfully intense. I love it that they're using the same things that I've had earlier upstairs in their preparations across the menu. Just so nice to have a point of reference for the ingredients that I've had. Favorite course so far?
Let's continue with this. The name is coboso. We only use the flesh. We add tarapita chilies. Here I'm gonna add some drops of vanilla.
So here we continue with the Amazonian connection. We prepared two dishes with two different type of the Amazonian fish. The first one is gonna be the piranha. So in front of you, you can find the small lettuce, and between this lettuce, we put the fillet of piranha, and then we marinate this fillet with Amazonian fruit, which is a lulo, has a very high acidity like fresh lime juice. And on the top we finish with a shaved Amazonian nuts. And then the second dish here we made with this fish. Name of this fish is a paiche. And this a green foam we made it with the leaf of cassava, and black one we made it with fermented cassava.
Presentation is fantastic. So
you.
beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Very interesting. The texture of that fish is almost more akin to chicken. Yeah, oh, the sauce is incredible here. Then we have this. I mean, it's a giant piece of lettuce. There's some shredded fish, different textures in there. Pairing, excellent. There's a combination of the citrus and the sweetness of the vanilla. Love that. Yeah, while the bite was good, I'm just not sure what to make of a lot of the stuff. But it's all tasty, which is more than I can say about other experimental places.
So, who is behind this vertical journey through Peru? Well, that would be Chef Virgilio Martinez. After training at Le Cordon Bleu in Canada, he went on to work for Chef Gaston Acurio in Madrid and Bogota before becoming executive chef at Astrid y Gaston here in Lima. Then, in 2008, he opened Central in Miraflores. 10 years later, and they relocated to its current home here in Barranco at Casa Tupac, which, by the way, has absolutely nothing to do with the rapper. The site was previously used as a cultural hub for artists and even housed a brewery producing Cerveza Tupac. The cooking here applies modern techniques to indigenous Peruvian produce, bringing together ingredients found within the same ecosystems at different elevations across Peru. And speaking of ecosystems, we're heading back to sea level for the next course, Blue-Green Ocean. It starts with a shot of leche de tigre made using sea urchin. This was especially sharp and acidic, almost acting as a palate cleanser to the incredibly soft, creamy and oceanic sea urchin itself, followed by scallops, clams and a vongole. This was all paired with pampas de ica, a Peruvian brute made using Moscatel de Alejandría.
That is the largest tongue of sea urchin I've ever had. And then this is the colours on here are just, honestly, I have no idea what's going on. Most of it I'm liking so far.
I was then invited for another little behind the scenes look, this time inside their main kitchen, where they also had a little snack waiting for me.
These are sweet that we made with the root vegetable. It's called masha. We cook only half, so you can feel the sweet and a little bit of the spicy at the same time.
It almost starts off as kind of like a marshmallow texture,
Yes,
and then it goes into this lovely custard,
Yeah.
creme brulee.
So this is sea brain algae, the ecosystem of the octopus. So this octopus has been covered with seaweeds and sea salts for 7 days. We made this broth, and in the same broth we cook another octopus. Actually, we have used the tentacles, so we'll find them in the blue vessel in front of you. But those tentacles were cooked without the skin. We'll find the skin in this clear vessel. Under this creamy texture made of codium, codium is a seaweed. And now I will add this cold texture made of the entire octopus.
That's like just straight up concentrated octopus, but in a thick, rich broth. And here is the other preparation. And then there is also... Whoa. Oh, that feels strange, but flavour-wise, that works. Think of it as like crunchy, freeze-dried pieces of octopus. This is probably one of the best servings of octopus I've ever had, but in the most unexpected way possible. Taste, amazing, amazing. And I'm just going from one to the other, I love it. The tentacle is cooked to perfection as well. Oh my goodness, my favourite course so far. This pairing works so brilliantly with it, with so much acidity and sweetness at the same time.
This wine is from Argentina, Mendoza. This Malbec was aged by 13 years in old French oak barrels.
So, this is the last savory moment, unfoist. So first, in the small vessel, we'll find cured duck paired with mushroom. So we have it in two textures. You can see a cream and strings. In the next one, we'll find dry aged duck with slices of different tubers. The purple one is mushroom. The one with the red line is called oyuco. And the one with the green line is called oca. On the stone, we'll find beef. Under the beef is slices of different tubers. So we recommend to start with the beef.
Intensely beefy, lovely caramelization on the edges. And this one is...
So, just to complement this course, let me introduce our watia. So watia is an ancient technique to cook under rocks and underground, but this is also a celebration where we give thanks to the Pachamama, the Mother Earth. So for this interpretation, we have used this type of clay called Cacao. Cacao clay has a lot of benefits and it's also edible. We have cooked this type of potato called camotillo, using also herbs and chilies from the same ecosystem. So we recommend to eat the potatoes as local people do in the communities, using your hands.
Interesting. Creamy, fatty. Then this was the final preparation of the duck. It's cured. Then there's the mushroom, the other various types of tubers. This fork is a bit useless. Not what I expected from a duck dish at all. Very crunchy, very acidic. Mild spiciness running through there. I've got to say the presentation everywhere is mind-blowing.
Here in the middle, we're gonna have a koye ice. Koye is a flower that grows in the mountains. Here, I'm gonna add this hot infusion made with a panca. Finally, we add a little bit of honey to set this.
So now we have two ecosystems. So the first one in front of you, Sacred Valley. At the bottom of the vessel, we find chirimoya, this fruit, covered with two crispy textures. So the black one made of maca, maca is an indigenous root, and the green one made of lemon verbena. Here, the second dessert and ecosystem, mil morai. So we are going to see a nice texture made of muña. Muña is an herb from altitudes. Also, this slice of yacon. Both ecosystems are connected by this type of agave called tabuya. It's an Andean agave. So from this one, we get this reduction that I will pour on mil morai.
So first up, set to this dish is super interesting. It's got roots coming out of it. It looks like a ceramic donut. Again, super unique, interesting, but I loved it. It's like fruity, it's intense, it's citrusy. All those things again, I just don't have much to compare it to. There's loads of fruitiness and acidity to it.
So now to continue with experience, we are going upstairs for visiting the Theobroma Lab.
And with that, it was my final trip back upstairs, this time to the Theobroma Lab. First, an introduction to the cacao beans, already fermented and dehydrated. And, in their usual meticulous style, they had the entire process laid out in front of me, taking the cacao from bean to nib, and eventually into this glossy, velvety liquid. My first bite showcased 3 different end products from the cacao, alongside a liquid showcasing the mucilage. Next came a roasted cracker, made using the fresh seeds of the macumbo, finished off with a sprinkling of salt. And finally, a jelly containing the pectin that is naturally occurring within the theobromas. And with that, it was back downstairs for the finale.
This is agave from the Andes. It's a mix with the Amazonian nut. And the other ingredient is the white, the part that covers the seed in cacao. Name is the mucilage.
Alright, well, right now we have arrived to the final moment of this experience. And here, what we will find is 100% cacao. Now, over here, we will see our fruit called cacao chuncho from Quillabamba, Cusco. So this moment is called 100%, not because we have 100% of the fruit, it's because we have used 100% of the whole fruit. First, we're gonna start by talking about the exocarpo. The exocarpo is the yellow skin. With that, well, we have made the yellow foam. Now, on top, we're gonna see a white one. That is made with the mucilao. That is the white cotton that covers the seeds. Then, in front of us, we will see a texture made of the exocarpo, the skin. We have a jelly also made from the mucilao. On the bottom, a green creamy texture made from the leaves. And then, next to it, we're gonna have the dry seeds that are called nibs. Now we have a rock, a paste, crispy texture, and a foam. And next to it, we are gonna see 3 textures. Jelly, a foam, and a creamy one made from the fresh seeds. So that's why I have this kind of pink color. Right here, we are gonna see the veins of the cacao. Next to it, we have a baby cacao. And we finish over here with creamy texture made from the skin, the seeds, and also from the nibs, all together.
Okay, I don't even know where to start here, but okay. That is light, fluffy, airy. This is almost kind of like a fruit leather texture. The mousse at the bottom, or the cream at the bottom, dark, intense. There's a gel, a foam, and a cream. Wow. This is not at all rich. It's almost milky, very fruity, slightly acidic, but it's noticeable that there's a chocolate profile to it. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish everything. This looks interesting. This looks like a baby cacao. I mean, it's slightly sweet, acidic, chewy. It has no flavour reminiscence of chocolate. A really fudgy brownie. Oh, that's good. There's not an intense chocolate flavour. Very mellow, very sweet. Again, I have no idea half the things what I'm eating. So I can only paint the picture of what my brain has to reference. And I think we're finally here. The final bite of today's menu is this Aero chocolate. And it also looks like Aero chocolate made from the cacao leaf. It's coffee time.
The total for today's experience, all in and prepaid, came to just over 3,600 soles. Starting with the staff, they really made the experience and were the absolute highlight of my visit. The effort everyone made to explain absolutely everything to me, sometimes multiple times too, was genuinely heartwarming. And even the way the entire kitchen would drop what they were doing to welcome every single guest inside was a really nice touch. Service-wise, there were a couple of misses, drinks occasionally being taken away before I'd actually finished them. Well, it's the gamble you take when using opaque drinkware. As for the space, huge amounts of natural light, afternoon sun flares, and a natural blend of the outdoors morphing into the dining room. Stone tables, huge amounts of space, and despite having a service station right beside my seat, there was barely a single sound from that direction during the entire service. And finally, the food. This one's a little mixed for me. Some bites were absolutely incredible, whilst others simply didn't quite work for me. But having probably tasted over a couple of hundred different things today, getting every single one to work for every single person is going to be pretty much impossible. One thing I definitely wasn't a fan of though, were the finger foods that were covered in these pigmented dyes that left my fingers stained afterwards. Although I do appreciate that for some of the later courses, wet towels were brought over. You can of course come here and have just their tasting menu, but if you're going to come all the way here to visit Central and you have the opportunity, I'd highly recommend doing the full immersion experience. For me, the sea and liquids exploration early in the day were absolute highlights and gave me so much more context to the different things that made their way onto my plate later on. And as always, thank you for watching. On to the next one. Goodbye.